and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we are going to talk to you about some really exciting new improvements going on at 70-year-old War Memorial Stadium. My guests are Henry Morgan from the Peninsula Pilots and Jim Wilson, formerly of Parks and still a major volunteer with the city. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's talk about, just for a second, War Memorial's history. I mean, this is an old stadium, but there's some really cool moments in the past.
1 second?
I know, this is hard for you, Henry. You got to pare it down.
Yeah. So it is 70 years old, as you pointed out, built in 1947, opened in 48.
War Memorial right after the war.
Right. Branch Rickey was revolutionizing baseball, minor league baseball, and was involved with 5 stadiums. Ours was one of them. And made a couple mistakes. The 2 A-poles were on the field of play, but we made an honest man out of Branch in 2005 with new lighting. And 2 Hall of Fame catchers, Johnny Bench and Gary Carter. The current home run king, Barry Bonds, got his first hit there.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of little things out there. Satchel Paige, who suffered probably as much racial injustice as Jackie Robinson, threw his last pitch there against the team that kept him from playing baseball when he should have. And it's Ryan Zimmerman, current player in the major leagues, along with 7 other ex-pilots now in professional baseball at the major league level.
So for a long time, it was minor league. It would have been a farm team for 5 or 6 different pro teams were affiliated. And now you run a college summer league. How long has that been, Henry? How long have you been doing this?
So 2000, I was actually the chairman of the Stadium Authority. I'd just gotten off the board because I had negotiated this lease with the league when the Roadsters, which was women's professional fast-pitch softball, which I thought was a lot of fun out, by the way. But they left in 1999, so 2000 we needed a tenant. We went and got one. The owner at the time was married to a woman from France who was homesick, and so somehow I got back in it in 2001, and here I am.
Wonderful. So it is an old stadium. It has an illustrious history. It has some pretty crummy facilities, if I can, as a fan, and I am wearing a Pilots t-shirt.
You are a fan. Not only that, you show up.
I do show up, even when there's only 2 innings because the rest is rain. I eat the cheeseburgers, I drink the Sly Clyde cider, I talk to people. It is a community gathering place as much as it is a sporting facility.
Yeah, that's what we want it to be. We want it to be the community's living room.
Yeah.
So people come out and make great associations and friends, and at least share some time together with their neighbors, and in a comfortable moment.
Right. And so for you guys, I think the biggest complaint is the field drainage because it limits your play.
Right. And with the track that we want to be on, which is to not only get our games in, but to invite other teams from other parts of the country down here to stay for a week, there needs to be some certainty that you'll actually get the game in because of the weather. The last 2 weeks will remind you of that.
Yeah, absolutely. From my point of view, the biggest detraction are the bathrooms.
Yeah. Well, we have very patient, accepting, tolerant fans like you. And this project, as you pointed out, will have some improvement in the bathroom facilities, which will...
Some improvement?
Yes.
It's going to be like awesome.
Well, I know.
Major.
Yeah. And it's going to allow us to tackle some of the older rooms if they have to be out of service. While we're fixing them, we at least have somewhere to go.
And this is where, Jim Wilson comes in, because as the former parks director, you were in charge of all of the city's parks facilities and recreation, and this is one of them. And now you're coming back as a volunteer to finish some of these things. So how did you guys get to the point where you were able to do more than patch what was there to do this major improvement? And then we'll talk about what all it's going to be.
Several years ago, before I retired, we touch base with the users, the pilots, the apprentice school, different fans about, if they had a wish list, what would they want at War Memorial Stadium? And it was kind of just an open book. It's like a brainstorming session to put it in priority. So the Peninsula Stadium Authority kind of went through that process, and it did have a big ticket number. So we just had to narrow it down. And with this facility, I mean, we all worked together with the engineers, Q Design, and the City of Hampton engineering staff and all. And, to meet and improve ADA standards, to get a new restroom, to get an elevator in there, to make it a major attraction. And plus, we wanted to use the stadium and have the use of this current stadium for the next 20, 25 years. And with this building, which will have a batting cage, a second floor.
So that's what, and I don't know if you guys can zoom in on this. So this is a whole brand new building here.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to be, it's your batting practice area, right, or your pitching practice area right now, I think, some of it.
Over here is the pitching practice.
Yeah, that's.
So this is going to be.
The batting cage area inside, there'll be the new ticket area, where you come in, instead of going to home plate and down Kentucky Avenue, you can come right off the parking lot and come right in the corner.
And that design echoes the original ticket booths. Yeah.
Ticket booths, the roof
they'll be more
line,
useful.
roof design line, the steel construction, similarly.
And so there'll be stairs, but there'll also be an elevator, you
Yes.
said. And this is all new for fans. This
That's
is
right.
Is that going to be our new tiki bar? Is that the observation area? What are you going to have up there?
I don't know yet. We're working on it.
It will be an observation area, but have different events out there.
To be your private rentals.
Right, for different games. But when they don't have games there, it can be used for a number of things. I mean, Henry has the kickball league in the fall out there, and that can be an attraction. And it can invite, different people in to use the batting cage.
Well, and
High
that's the other
school
thing
and
I was going to
little
say
leagues,
is the batting cage will be available for rentals
Community.
for groups, for the
Right.
community.
Yep. You're looking at this from the parking lot down the third baseline.
Oh, am I also looking at a paved parking lot?
Yes, sir.
You are. Yeah.
Well, the paved parking lot will be this fall, right after the pilot season ends. I mean,
Okay. I'm convinced we can get more cars in there if there were little stripes and people knew where to park. I'm convinced of it. The engineers will
hope
tell you
you're
for
right.
real, but
I hope you're right. You mentioned the Stadium Authority, and we're really fortunate to have a group of citizens on that authority that we have and have had. This councils have made some really good appointments, and those people are vested in it like I am, and they have, I think, really sought out solutions to problems that have been there for years and years.
well, now some people might be saying, why are we the taxpayers investing in a facility that your business uses?
Well, first of all, it's not our facility. We
It's
lease
ours,
it. It's
I
your
know.
facility. And secondarily, I think the city has wisely identified the travel tourism as a economic engine, hopefully. Boo Williams has done a tremendous job with that, with basketball over the years. We think we can do similarly with baseball, maybe not to the level of Boo's involvement or reach, but something to bring economic input here.
Well, you already had a combine just this year.
Yeah, well, so this year, based on the promise of improvements, we started scheduling things that we thought we could use to sell people to come back. And we've had 2 combines and 3 tournaments, and we have 4 more to go. The city has also identified the shortage of hotel rooms, and they're working on that issue. And these types of events are what fills up those hotel rooms.
And you serve the local citizens. I can look through the stands and know how many people came from my neighborhood. But also regionally, people come from York County, from Newport News, come from all over. And the city gets back some amusement tax and meals tax off your cheeseburgers.
Sure. The citizen support has been phenomenal, and I'm overwhelmed every year by it. just great people. We have a lot of fun out there, and we don't have problems. And it's because of the quality of the people that are living in our community and sharing this asset together.
It is one of those things where, you know, I only see some people at that time of year.
Yeah.
And then you look at how much the kids have grown each time.
Yeah.
It is, you know, very much this, I don't want to say throwback to another time, but it does have this sense of community where, you know, the older kids take the younger ones to the play area, and everybody is very comfortable, very safe, gets to know each other, even if you didn't know each other when you walked in those gates.
I like to thank people for coming, and so when they're leaving, I stand at the gate and say thank you. And I'm amazed by how many people say, well, I remember coming out here with my dad when I was just 10 years old, and they've got a little 10-year-old under their arm. So I feel like there is some continuity going on out there. But you may have called me old, by
I'm sure I didn't mean to do
you
that.
said throwback.
No, I think that modern society has lost some sense of it is an old-time community thing. And you do it in a way that isn't old time, but that pulls it into the modern age and works for today. But I think those gathering spaces, those community spaces, there aren't as many of them. Society's a little too fractured. There's a lack of trust. It is, you know, a very welcoming, laid back. You keep prices down, which I think makes a big difference. I love the Tides, but I went to a Tides game and was completely blown away by how much it cost. I couldn't go to very many of those. I can go to a lot of these. For $5, you know, it's not bad, and I don't have to cook. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you do to keep it with that community feel.
I hope so. You know, I think, you know, we're shipyard town, and we try to make it affordable because we want to see people.
Well, and this year I think you've had Little League moms and dads at the concession stand, because every time I go up to buy something, I've seen somebody that I know.
Yeah, they do that as a volunteer effort for their fundraising. We've had in the past, we've had submarine groups that were having their subs built at Newport News shipyard.
So you alternate who the beneficiaries are.
We try to, yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing. But it also, and Jim, maybe you can speak to this a little bit, how it is youth development through baseball. I mean, there's little leagues there all the time. They get to come out with the players when the players are announced. How does that fit in terms of the city's efforts to keep youth involved, to give them positive things to do, but also then to grow the tourism?
Well, it's kind of the one-on-one involvement with the pilots, because the pilots players, when they have clinics, are out there with the children, you know, and then they have someone to look up to, you know, and the coaches come out, and then the word of mouth gets around to the different little leagues on the peninsula. Hey, this is what the pilots are doing, and more coming out. But when you're a young child and you get to meet a baseball player, whether it be a college or professional, you know, now it's hard to get autographs and what have you, but, you know, to work with them and then have the college student work with you on your throwing skills or batting skills, or, you know, your development skills. You know, it's that one-on-one time. It's not cell phone or it's not media. It's the kids can interact with the pilots and the pilots organization, and there's ownership there, and that word gets around, and it means a lot.
And then they live in our community. During the season, they live with host families. They're a part of it. They're not, you know, set apart like the big ball players are.
Right. We have 65 10-year-olds out there right now for the third day of camp. And I think there's about 12 of our players out there, and they're literally playing with the kids. And when I was leaving, we have a big 6'8" pitcher, and he was standing next to probably a 7 or 8-year-old little dude. And I just thought, what a cute, you know, moment. But they both like it. The little guy likes it, and the big guy likes it.
Well, one of the things I want to ask you, and maybe we'll even close on this, is you travel for the team. You're in touch with college scouts. You're in touch with pro scouts, I think, some of the time when they're looking at your kids. What do you think Hampton's reputation is from the outside? Because we get stuck in Hampton, and sometimes we spend a lot of time complaining about what's wrong. I think you have a more global view. Henry, what do you see?
I see Hampton as being recognized now nationally as a place that colleges, really good baseball programs, are willing and should send players to, because it is a good place to be. It's a good place for a family to vacation. It's a good place for these kids to come spend 12 weeks here during the summer. There's things to do in Hampton. You know, we had a group from tournament. We had a group from Cincinnati that was down here. He complained about going to Virginia Beach. I said, well, try Buckrow. It's right down the road, you know. He went the next day. He saw me. He said, thank you so much for pointing that out. He said, I had no idea it was there. It's a great beach. It's got the need out of the way. And we play Team USA, so they have eight coaches on their staff, and they're from all over the country. Where before we had to beg people to send us players, now we have a coach from a very prominent school in California that wants to send us players because he came here himself as part of Team USA, and he said, what a baseball community. We had 4,000 people out there that night to watch the game. He was as happy as I was, and went back and started telling his kids about us, and you know, now we have the idea to get one. We are trying to get a shortstop from Japan who goes to Yale, so we want to spread the word internationally. You know, try to help Hampton be seen as what I think it truly is, which is a great place to live, work, and play.
You grew up here, right?
I did. Yeah. Well, some people would say I haven't grown up. But yeah,
Well,
I had the opportunity.
Yeah, that might be. I can see that. And that's good. You also call yourself the caretaker instead of the owner of the team from time to time, I think.
Well, if you look around at the ballpark, people like, you know, gosh, everybody, Tommy Bird, Ralph Wood, everybody pitches in, you know. It's I think there's a shared belief and feeling that, you know, that it's their place. So that's what I want it to be.
Oh, it's my team.
I know that. I know that.
I don't own it, but it's my team.
Yeah, you actually make noise and cheer and stuff, you know. So
Yeah,
we like
when
that.
I'm not busy talking.
Yeah.
I do. Well, thank you so much. Is there any last things you want to say before we close? And obviously, you guys are going to try to get this done through the city's procurement process and, you know, all the things required of that in the off season before next year.
Yeah, they've actually started with some drainage work and
Right, putting the drainage in there.
in the parking lot,
Got
and they have worked very closely with us. The city's, you know, planning and zoning and engineering and all of the departments have.
And that's probably
had
where
parts-
Jim helps, is that he knows how to. He's the master of getting things through and getting things done.
I'm glad we don't have to pay him because I couldn't afford it.
So are we. Yeah, as a taxpayer.
But yeah, they've been very closely willing to work with us, you know, on our schedule. When we have fireworks, they move equipment. It's just so far a very pleasant experience. Anybody in the construction business, if they're listening, I hope you consider building in Hampton because they make it easy.
Well, and I will say this is kind of an unusual, or maybe not unusual for Hampton, but public-private partnership where there is that overlap, where everybody's giving some, where partly you're using volunteers, and it all somehow comes together.
Yep.
And a winning season.
Yep.
You guys have done really well for a number of years now.
We have Hank, my son Hank, has a real good knack and a good relationship with a core network of colleges that we rely on, and you know, when we get kids from Lamar University in Texas, because Chris Oschenfeld played baseball with the head coach there at some professional level 20 years ago, it works, and our kids come
pays
in-
dividends.
Huh?
Pays dividends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, we get good kids. We've sent 2 kids home in 20 years for misbehavior.
Wow, that's a lot for college
As
kids.
a microcosm of
impressed.
society, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good ratio. Okay, well, thank you both
Yep.
so much.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for watching. I know that by the time this airs, the season will be over, but hope that you will return next year to a gorgeous new building and paved parking lot and wonderful team again, because Hank and Henry will ensure that we do that community job of bringing in those kids and raising them and working with our softball little league and our baseball little leagues and growing that next generation of baseball players and baseball fans. Thanks for watching.
Go Pilots.
Go Pilots!